Your coffee sits on the kitchen table, warming your hands more than it warms you. An old work badge lies nearby, like it's still waiting for Monday. Across town, a 28-year-old reads a layoff email on a glowing phone, thumb frozen above the screen. Different decades, the same quiet drop in the stomach. People may tell you it's simple. You'll enjoy the freedom, or you'll bounce back. But when a role disappears, it can feel like the room forgets where to place you. You're not broken for feeling it. Stay with that feeling. In a moment, you'll see why this hurts in ways you didn't expect. Here's what hits later. People talk about you like you're simply retired, as if you were born into a quiet routine. But do you remember the years when you drove before dawn? You can still smell the coffee. When you stood up for what mattered, when you helped build the world your grandkids now live inside. You raised kids, paid bills, stayed late, and believed the future would be better because you pushed it there. You thought slowing down would feel like relief, but sometimes it feels like being erased. And if you're 25 and sure you'll never be here, they once felt that too. But here's what most people never notice. For you, work became a name, and then you notice something else. It isn't the paycheck you miss first. It's the proof that you mattered today. At the kitchen table, your coffee cools for the day while you scroll past old emails. Thanks, we needed you. And you realize how often your name was attached to solving something. A younger person might say they want a life that feels meaningful. You were taught to be the one who carries the load and keeps the lights on. You thought retirement would mean freedom, but sometimes it feels like losing your place in line. The hard part isn't resting. It's wondering who you are when nobody needs your hands. And that's where the family chat changes. Now the day takes a turn. You open your phone, and the family group chat is photos, jokes, plans, yet nobody asks what you think. Your daughter texts, "We'll swing by at 6, like it's a schedule, not a question. You type a reply, delete it, then stare at the cursor. You thought you'd feel relieved to have less responsibility, but what lands first is being skipped. People say, "Enjoy retirement," as if you're on vacation. Inside, you miss the moment someone looked at you and said, "Can you handle this?" It wasn't the money that made you steady. It was the role. And once that drops away, a younger fear wakes up. Then you notice it isn't just you. What looks small on a screen becomes huge afterward. A 28-year-old sits on a thrift store couch, laptop open, rereading the layoff email like it might change. Across town, you're 68, staring at a calendar that suddenly has too much white space. Different ages, same quiet drop in the stomach. You thought this story belonged to retirement, but it's really about what happens when a role disappears overnight. When the job title vanishes, when the routine breaks, when even your online feed goes dark for a day, you start asking, who am I without that to others? The scary part isn't losing work, it's losing where you mattered. And that pulls us into what comes next. There's another layer that's harder to admit. You're not falling apart. You're being asked to live without a scoreboard. For decades, you were the one who showed up early, fixed the problem, covered the shift, paid the bills, kept the lights on. People call that stubborn. You thought it was just how you keep a family steady. But when the work stops, you notice how much of your warmth was tied to being needed. So you practice something new in quiet ways. Leaving a tool on the pegboard, taking a walk at 3 p.m., drinking coffee without rushing. You thought slowing down meant losing yourself, but it can be the first honest breath. And soon, that gets tested. Now the night takes a turn. You check your phone and the family thread is busy. Photos, jokes, plans. But nobody asks what you think. Your thumb hovers. The TV murmurs. You stare at the screen, a little useless, like a retired tool in a drawer. They assume you're relaxing. You're actually listening for a place to belong to. You thought you missed the job, but it may be the quiet respect that came with it. When you offer a suggestion, someone replies, "We've got it," and you smile like it doesn't sting. Inside, something shifts. You're not craving praise. You're craving a seat at the table. And that's where the real friction starts, before anyone arrives. And this is where it starts to cost you. 28 refreshes an inbox, 68 refreshes a group chat, and both hit a hollow pause. Coffee cools as the screen glows. Here's the question. When work goes quiet, do you disappear too? You're not disappearing. You're learning your value can't live only in what you produce. You thought the ache was about money or boredom, but it's often about being needed, being counted. They may call it relaxing, but it can feel like losing your seat at the table. So you watch the small moments. Who asks your opinion? Who doesn't? And how quickly you shrink to keep the peace. And that's when the next conversation starts to matter. Now comes the line you wish you could say out loud at the dinner table. You're not clinging to work. You're clinging to being useful. Your hands still smell like printer ink and coffee. Retirement doesn't erase you. It exposes what you protected. They see you checking the calendar and think you can't let go. What's really happening is you're looking for a place to matter when the old title is gone. You thought the quiet meant peace, but it can feel like being set aside. And then, a 28-year-old hears it and recognizes the same fear under a different paycheck. Hold that thought. Most people never hear it from you, and the next moment shows why. When the job badge is gone, you start listening for proof you still belong. A 68-year-old at the kitchen table and a 28-year-old on a couch can feel the same hollow morning. The silence can feel like a verdict when nobody asks your opinion. But it isn't your worth changing. It's the yardstick. For decades, being needed looked like a title and a problem only you could solve. Now it may look quieter. A steady presence, a call you make, a hand you lend without a role attached. If this is your season, there's more than one way to matter. Tonight, you set the coffee down and notice your shoulders soften. Some mornings, the hardest sound is the quiet after a career ends. The coffee sits there, and your phone stays still, and your mind keeps reaching for a task to prove you're useful. If that ache shows up, it doesn't mean you're weak or ungrateful. It means your life trained you to measure love and respect through responsibility. When the duties fall away, your body keeps waiting for the next call. But worth doesn't retire. It shifts into smaller, truer moments, being asked, being present, being steady, long before anyone says thank you out loud. And on a day when nobody needs your skills, you can still be someone's calm.